After reviewing the film and everything, what did you see that maybe you didn't see on game day?
I'm not sure about a lot what I didn't see, but offensively, I thought we executed at a pretty high level. The offensive line did a really nice job, particularly run blocking, picking up the different things that they do defensively. Our receivers blocked really well downfield. That's why we got some huge explosive runs, as they did a good job. And Mike and Braylon both ran extremely well. Obviously, Talon made plays with his legs. Passing game wise, we were pretty efficient as far as where we were supposed to be on our routes and the timing of the ball coming out of our hand. They got us a little bit late in the game with some of their pass rush, which hurt us on the drive that we had to punt the ball away. But for the most part, offensively, we played pretty good. Defensively, we played with a lot of effort. Guys were running to the ball. We still have some assignment issues that opens up big plays, explosive plays for them. We missed too many tackles. Although we were getting to the football, we missed more tackles than we did the previous week at Tennessee, which was a thing we tried to build on and actually went in the wrong direction. But some of that is the guys we're trying to tackle too. That's a good football team. A&M's a good football team, experienced O-line. Their quarterback played really well for them. And we couldn't get off the field. If we could get one of those fourth down stops or we hold them to a field goal instead of a touchdown in the red zone, then we got a chance to win the game. But we're right there.
Defensive line, is there any chance for Saili this week or Oki? I know depth has been a concern.
Yeah, it's been an issue. I'm not sure yet. I saw them both out there in stretch last night and looking like they were going to go through the run, and I go out with the young guys in practice. So we're not sure yet, but I think there is some hope.
And thoughts against going against Auburn this week, another game at home. And I don't know if you and Freeze ever had any interaction before, coached against each other or anything?
Last year. Coached against each other last year, yeah. I mean, it was a heck of a game. It was a good win for us, a battle, actually, and a good win. But I know Coach Freeze pretty well. When he was at Arkansas State, I hired one of his guys away, Kevin Peoples, and he was really good about it, really professional about it, and happy for Kevin. But that's really all the interactions I've really had with him.
With the defensive line, we've got to see, Caleb James, Frank Mulipola. I think Otis played a couple snaps. Is that something maybe you're going to continue to tinker with, maybe get some different guys in the game that haven't played, or any of the freshmen maybe coming on, that guys that maybe can start contributing in addition to Otis?
Yeah, that's actually a conversation we're going to have later on today. We were able now to have 2 practices on film with the freshmen and the young guys, and it was fun last night. They were out there competing hard and playing hard, and it was good to see that, the way they competed and how they had fun. Our pitch count's pretty high for the defensive line, so obviously we're trying to rotate some guys in, get them fresh. And I thought Frank did a nice job. I think he played 5 plays, had 3 tackles, and but then he had an assignment error that really hurt us. So it's kind of like making sure we're all on the same page when we rotate them in there.
With Talon and the sacks, it seems like it's just kind of a give and take with that, because he can run backwards and escape and run for 50 yards, and so, then you have the 25-yard loss on that fourth quarter drive. I mean, what are the conversations with him like? Because they're such a big boom for him for you guys when he escapes the pocket, and it's can really be a damaging. I mean, how do you kind of balance what he can do and it's the kind of the negative plays of those sacks as well?
Yeah, it's a fine line. You want to make sure you give him his athletic ability a chance to make plays for us, but we also have to understand situations. And the one play when we were coming out and we had a nice double move and had it open, we unfortunately didn't protect it well. That was one where I would just like to see him get outside the pocket, throw it away, understand that 2nd and 10 is an okay situation. It's not a negative play for us. I think one of one of the issues we always grade the game on is how many negative plays did we have and how many negative plays did we force. And we had way too many negative plays in that game. But then he also makes huge plays running with the ball. So it's a fine line. You don't want to take away his instincts and athletic ability, but he does need to understand the situations of the game. And, his maturity now, his experience now is something that he can handle that. I think he can do that.
I was going to ask you about the Auburn offense, what you see from Jackson Arnold at quarterback, and maybe is it comparable to last year's schemes?
They've been struggling with their offense. There's no question about that, and they ran the ball pretty well last week. Running back looked good, running the football, and they've got a receiver that we really have to understand where he's lined up, and he's a special player, kid I'm very, very familiar with out of high school. We actually had him committed to us at A&M. He's probably as good a receiver as there is in the entire country. So we have to know where he's at every play and how we're going to slow him down and take away his free access and make sure they have to beat us left-handed. So, but I think it's a situation where we've got to do obviously improve this week in practice and make sure we know what they're trying to do scheme-wise so that we can defend what they like to do.
And then when you have the ball, their defense, despite their 0-for in conference, their defense has played pretty well. What do you make of personnel and schemes on defense?
Yeah, they're a really good defensive team. They've got good outside edge rushers. They're firm inside. The linebackers play fast. Their secondary is not afraid to play man coverage. Very familiar with their defense. They're very, very well coached. We went against them, that defense, every day in practice before. So they do a great job in their schemes and what they do. It's going to be a great challenge for our offense. We've got to be able to run the football and be patient, stay away from third and extra long, where they can tee off their pass rushers. So I think we have to be efficient. We have to really be efficient on first down.
When you think of Auburn historically, what comes to mind for you? I mean, you had the Newton game down there. That was a high-scoring game when Tyler comes in. You went undefeated against him here as a head coach.
Yeah, it's the first time I thought about that. I do remember the game there, though, when Tyler came off the bench and threw for, I don't know, maybe 400 yards or 300 and some yards, and we couldn't tackle Cam. We just couldn't tackle him. He was so big and strong and physical, and it was going back and forth like a tennis match, and was a lot of fun. I was an assistant coach there for a year and had a great time there as an assistant coach, and working for our is he a senator now, Tuberville? Working for our Senator Tuberville was a lot of fun and enjoyed it. But I think it's going to be a good football game, and we've got to find a way to win.
With Phillip Lee's low snap count on Saturday, I was just curious if he's dealing with something that's keeping him limited.
No, he's healthy. It was just a situation where we didn't play a lot of our NASCAR or 4 fast guys on the field, which he did the week before. Their personnel groupings were very much in what we call 12 personnel, 2 tight ends on the field. Sometimes they had 3 tight ends on the field. They did a little bit more what you call 20 personnel, 2 backs, 3 wide receivers on the field. So we were actually in base defense a lot more than you usually are. It was kind of an unusual game as far as the number of snaps. We were in base, nickel, or dime. So it was kind of matching their personnel and seeing what we could do as far as that. That's why you saw Charlie Collins on the field more. He played some outside linebacker / defensive end for us, and he did a good job at times and made some mistakes at times, but it was good to see him out there. I think he's got a guy that's going to have a really good future here after this year.
On top of good run blocking, what do you think is clicking for Mike, especially over these last 2 games?
He's seeing things really well. He's become a better player before he gets the ball. That's one of the things that really helps running backs improve. Kobe Smith's done a great job with his tracks, his first step, where his shoulders are. Whenever you become really good before you get the ball, then your vision opens up and your landmarks are better and you see the blocks and make quick cuts. And his improvement on that in the last 3 weeks has been tremendous and has helped him, tremendously. And then just his explosion and speed is, something he's always had. But because he's doing things a little more detailed, it shows up more.
I think some recruits in town over the weekend. Just kind of curious how active a interim staff can be in the recruiting space, and if those duties maybe get pushed to somebody else.
It was a good weekend for recruiting. There was a lot of good players here, and we just work hard on it, just like as if you're going to be here.
Omega Blake has been a guy for y'all all year. I'm just curious, has he been exactly what you expected, or is there anything that surprised you that maybe you didn't expect whenever you recruited him?
Yeah, since he's come back from spring, even over the summer, he's been very, very highly motivated. His effort, his speed, his toughness as far as how he practices, he just really elevated it and really, said to everybody out on the field, hey, I'm going to be the number one guy around here. And just by how he practices and how he plays, he's very tough-minded young man and a tremendous competitor.
You mentioned a few times about wanting some more explosive plays out of the special teams. I'm curious, how do you go about getting that? Is there anything in particular you're seeing that needs to happen to do that?
Yeah, well, we punted the ball really well, and that was a huge win for us in our punt. We flipped the field a couple times. We covered real well. I think it was a 57 maybe yard net punt average, somewhere in that range. Unfortunately, we had the penalty on the punt return, which changed that from like a 38 net to a 50-some net, and could have had a nice win there in the punting game. But statistically, we did a good job there. Kickoff return is kind of taken out of college football anymore, it seems like. You always wonder each day you're out there practicing is, why are we spending so much time practicing this, But I'll tell you what we did is we even put more time into it, thinking that it was going to be a lot of wind. We were concerned about the wind and what we were going to do kickoff into the wind and return game, so you had to spend enough time on that. But that's usually a wash. Nobody returns them, or, you kick them out of the end zone. So, and then field goal, PAT-wise, we were even. So, you'd like to get some more pressure on their punter. We did that pretty well against Tennessee. We affected the punter. We came after it early, and he sped up. He really changed his time that he was taking on how long it took him to punt the ball, and we got some good errant punts from him, and that helped us flip the field. But still like to see the block punt scoop for a touchdown, punt return for a touchdown, their punt return, fumble. We still need to have that type of flip in the momentum from our special teams that we haven't seen yet.
We've heard from you a couple times now that your message to the players has been, put your resume on tape for these next few weeks. Some of them mentioned it to us last week when they talked. Is there anybody in particular you feel like has really taken that message to heart, and how do you feel like they've all kind of adopted that?
Yeah, I think they've all kind of taken it to heart. I think when you see the effort that they're playing with and the excitement that they're playing with and the technique improvement that we've seen, they're all working extremely hard and understand that, they need to put their resume on tape, and that helps all of their futures.
Bobby, you mentioned the run game, and A&M was only allowing 100 yards rushing coming into that game. Really, the whole operation offensively, how connected is it? How confident are you in what you guys are doing offensively right now?
I think our guys are very confident, and they have executed at a high level, particularly, against Tennessee and A&M, two I call good defenses. We get another challenge this week with Auburn coming in, so it's our preparation has to be really good. Our understanding of their movements and stems. Our players are consistently getting more football intelligence and more football instincts on the offensive side of the ball, and they have great confidence in it. Communication has been good up front. Our center helps that a lot. And then our playmakers are making plays, so we just got to continue it.
Another question, really just about your perspective in football here. Aside from the Notre Dame game, it's 4 losses by a combined 13 points. And what's the difference in getting over the hump and competing to finding a way to win?
Yeah, I try not to think all the way back to some of those games where you feel like you should have walked off the field with the win and just concentrating on, what we're doing now. But what we need to do now is be a little bit more consistent driving the ball and scoring touchdowns when we get in the red zone. When we have to settle for a field goal and take 3 points, I think it really hurts our opportunity to win the game. We've got to come up with some of the 3rd down and 4th down stops that could flip the game right there and give us that chance to go score on, get another possession and find a way to win the game. We've got to get some turnovers. We haven't had a turnover in a as the young kids say, we haven't had a turnover in a minute. Whatever the heck that means. My grandkids say it, it's been a minute. And I'm like, a minute? Feels like a year. We got to get some turnovers. Get some turnovers, we'll be a lot better.
One more, just on the crowd on Saturday, especially to me, given the weather situation, it really seemed to be a fantastic atmosphere. And that, to me, seemed like a reflection to you and the support people are showing to you and your players. Has anything happened in the last 2 weeks in the community or just people you've made connections with over the years that you've really felt the support in the area?
Yeah, the crowd was awesome. To have that change time and to have the amount of rain that came down, the blizzard condition there for a while. I'm thinking, man, is anyone going to be here? We need this home field advantage. We need some help. And, man, everyone came out and did an unbelievable job, stayed there, kept cheering our players on. I know that it motivated our players. I know they felt it. And that's just a credit to all of our fans and everybody that came because it was really exciting for them.
You touched on it earlier, but you and Coach Durkin were on that same staff at A&M. Is there any particular advantage for either side when you have a situation like this where both of you are familiar?
I don't know if there's an advantage, and we've changed a lot from when I was at A&M because there's certain things at A&M that quarterback-wise were different, and things you could do. So we're a little bit different. He's doing a lot of same things, but he adds to the pile each week. He's a very unique coach, and he has a really good system, and he does a good job of defending plays. So we've got to be on top of our game and really do a good job of our substitutions, our alignments, our tempo. I think it's up to us to be able to change up those things and put some pressure on how they call things.
And then offensively, you've been able to start the same 5 up front for every game. Just maybe how have you seen the cohesion of that unit progress from camp to now?
You're not supposed to say that. No, they've done a nice job. I think it starts with our center being able to understand the offense and know the calls and know how to make the calls and get it communicated. And they've done a nice job of working together, and they put a lot of pressure on each other. I think that's a great job with the offensive line is they take a lot of pride in it, and when they make an error or make a mistake, they address it amongst themselves and try to work hard not to do that again.
Looking at the defensive line, just in the last couple of weeks, how good of a job do you think they've been able to do just to get off blocks and get to the ball?
We've done a nice job of using our hands and being able to shed and be a presence. We've got to be a little better job of tackling and a little better job of making that play right at the line of scrimmage. But the presence has helped the linebacker not have so much space to have to cover and make the tackle. So, but I'd still like to see us improve on it and improve on our quickness and our shedding and something we got to add to the package to get better at.
seemed like all three of your runners had a pretty good game on Saturday, including Braylon Russell. How much more would you like to get him involved in the offense?
We need to. We've got to, and it becomes hard at times if the score transpires in a where we're behind, then that becomes hard to get two backs in there and work them together and going. But we need to. I think he's one of our best football players on the offense, and he needs to touch the ball more. And that's on me. That's my job. I got to get him the football more.
There doesn't seem to be a consensus among coaches when kind of in the situation this weekend where you didn't go for two early, right? You could have gone for two to try and tie the game before halftime. You waited, and when you did, you eventually got it. Just what's your thought process there about when to go for two when it's kind of that scoreboard situation?
Yeah, I've always been the belief of you don't go for it early in the game. I've done that before, or we've done it before. I can't say me, but I've been involved in it when you went for it before early and you don't make it and then you get behind. I know one way back there was a game that we played where we actually scored more touchdowns and lost the game because we went for two early. And I'm kind of a late third quarter, fourth quarter guy, when to go for two. I know the other night, every time we score, upstairs says, the chart says go for two. And I go, 1, 1, 1. And they're like, okay, you ain't listening to me. That's the feeling I get. They're saying upstairs. But we were at a situation where we're down by 4. We need to hold them to a field goal. Okay. And if we hold them to a field goal, now it's a 7-point game. We score, kick, and it's a tie. Unfortunately, we didn't hold them to a field goal. So then when we went and scored, now it was time to go for two. It was the right, in my opinion, which take it or leave it, because I don't know, but it was my opinion that we went for two at the right time and got us in a position where we needed a field goal to tie it.
When we talked to the players after the game Saturday, I can't remember if it was Xavier or Mike, but one of them pointed to Talon kind of when we asked about keeping this group together, why do you guys have such confidence? And they pointed to Talon. I mean, what have you seen from him in this slide that it's not just you, but the players are retaining their confidence in him? I mean, how important is it for the leader to kind of be still relied upon as a leader, given what you guys are going through right now?
Yeah. I mean, he leads in a number of ways, on, off the field, how he goes about his business. He's a good role model for a lot of players on our team. And then he goes out there and competes extremely hard and shows toughness and poise. And, he's able to overcome a bad decision here or there and learn from it and then come out and go move the team and get us in the end zone. So he's an easy one to point to. This is our leader of our offense.
I was wondering, you touched on the offensive line, but it's such an improvement from where things were last year and even the year before that, before you were here. But Eric Mateos has played a big role in that. I was wondering what you thought about the job that he has done, not only putting this offensive line together, but also establishing depth behind it and some with the younger players.
Yeah, he's done a great job recruiting-wise, and the players that we have coming in and the ones that we were able to keep, those guys you got to recruit harder maybe than the ones that you go get. And I like the depth we have behind it. We've got a good young crew coming up. So I think there's some real stability there. And, it's a credit to how well he has done recruiting and his communication and respect that the players have for him.
11:45, your first morning kickoff as interim coach. What changes for you guys, moving meetings around or anything like that?
Get up earlier. Yeah. You just start the clock sooner in the morning, but be a good kick, get a good crowd, have a lot of fun. Coach, appreciate you. Thank you.